51 Areas Talk Radio.
Have a look at that. Shit getting crazy,
boy. All right. Hey, we're champion, guys. What's going on? I am here by myself. Everybody else has got important stuff to do, such as life and living and driving and having fun. And I'm here. I did my running around this morning, and so last night after we did our show, my YouTube account was was ended from complaints. So I had to open up a new YouTube account to be linked to it. And to be honest with you, I don't get a lot of I'm not a YouTuber. You know what I mean? We don't get a lot of traffic from there. All of our downloads and stuff come from multiple different outlets where this podcast is played. So I just am bringing back YouTube to a new channel. 51 Areas Podcast Live, I think, is the name of the channel that we're christening in with this episode. This all right here, man, and this I gotta bring you up to speed of what happened here. Last month we had Mike Rogers on the show. Mike Rogers is the former crew chief, boss, whatever you want to call him. Was the boss of the crew, and hey, Landon, what's happening, man? So the boss of the crew comes on. And, well, I got to tell the story. I'm flipping through, and somebody from the crew sends me a text message of this post from Mike Rogers. And he's saying that he no longer supports Travis Walton, and, you know, he's no longer considered a witness in his right mind and all this stuff, right? 45 years later, he's ready to jump ship and no longer support the Travis Walton claims, which, no secret, I've never, ever believed Travis Walton was taken in a UFO. Ever. I don't really have I got a couple of different theories of what I think happened, but I don't think that he was taken away anywhere. I mean, I met him. I met Travis. And, you know, I wanted to believe, but I wasn't able to. I wasn't able to achieve that 100% level and be like, yeah, this guy's telling the truth. Because it just wasn't that way. I met him. He was very egotistical. It didn't come across like somebody who had been on a spaceship. You know what I mean? He came across more of like a B-flick movie attitude kind of, you know, personality. So, you know, with that said, you know, I'm not against him. I don't hate Travis Walton. I don't have any feelings whatsoever about it. If you believe it, that's great. If you don't, that's great. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. So I had Mike Rogers on the show, and he's been on a couple times. And he comes on and, you know, makes all these claims and stuff. And before that happened, literally, about 1 hour before, I'm set up. I got a board set up and getting ready to go live. Phones ran through the board, everything. And Travis calls to, like, basically kind of lay a sweat on me about having Mike Rogers on the show and what he was going to say and all this shit. So, well, you called me, dude. You're going through the board. The call was recorded. In my state, it's legal to do exactly what I did. As long as you're a participant in the phone call, you can record conversations. Well, you know what, dude? You called a podcast, and we were getting ready to go live, so it was recorded, the whole thing. Now, I try to stay nice and cool, and you know, as the phone call starts, giving him respect and being nice. And Travis just basically hits the switch, and he just fucking nukes Mike Rogers and everything Mike Rogers has ever said or stand for. So, Yeah, I don't know what to think about any of this stuff anymore. It seems to be, the word be, when everybody talks to the guys in the crew, everybody say, oh yeah, great, blah, 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 But then when the doors close and people come to me, they're like, these motherfuckers are lying. They're straight to them, like to their face, and then they come to, well, what do you think, Dave? What do you think? I have to stick to what it is that I've said from the get-go. If it wasn't for John and Steve's story, I wouldn't believe any of it. It's crazy, And then there was that show to Tell the Truth or whatever that, Travis Walton went on, and he failed. He failed the lie detector test. There's no other way of putting it. He failed it. Now, the story in the crew is, this test was real difficult and hard for him to take or whatever. I don't care. I've heard Travis Walton say he's passed 5 different lie detector tests. If that's true, then he should have had no problem passing the 6th one, right? And he didn't. He just didn't. He failed miserably. And even the host at the end of the show is like, look, I'm not a skeptic. I want to believe in this stuff. I know I'm not a skeptic. I want to believe in it as well. But I can't believe Travis Walton's story. I believe those guys saw what they saw, or they wouldn't have passed. They saw something, right? They saw something. What that was, we'll never know. Ever. But they passed the test, and how can you not stay with that, right? Okay, they passed the test. They saw a UFO. But then at that point, it gets real crazy. So Travis calls, and, this is what happened. I'm going to play the call. You make up your mind whether he's calling me to do damage control, whether he's calling me to... I kind of felt like he was trying to steer me away from doing the podcast, from having Mike on. They were really... everybody was on edge about what he was going to say. And with that being said, with everybody being on that edge, look, if it happened, I'd be like, look, dude, I saw what I saw. I don't care what that guy says. End of story, right? But that's not the case. So, for your listening pleasure, 37 minutes of this is, it's 37 minutes long, and I'd say probably about 30 minutes of it is Travis just pretty much digging in Mike Rogers' soul. So here it is, guys, the call from Travis Walton to my call and my phone, and here we go.
First skipped message.
Hello? This is Travis Walton. I'd like to speak with you if you could get back to me and pick up next on the call. It's important.
End of message. Delete. Press.
Hello.
Hello, is this Travis?
Yeah.
Travis, what's up? This is Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, I got your call. I'm sorry I was on the other line. I couldn't flip over, man. It was just trying to clear the calendar for the evening, but I do apologize about not being able to pick up.
That's okay. I just was curious about this upcoming interview.
Yeah, it's it kind of out of control, isn't it? I saw his page and just was like, wow, this is... Now, I know you don't remember, but me and you have met, and we met here in Utah at a Utah UFO convention thing down in Cedar City. And you've also done the podcast with John and Steve in the past. So, I mean, you guys have been on. Steve and John have been on multiple times, and, I consider those guys pretty close. We've developed a friendship over a few years. But
Yeah, used to be, but he's not the same person at all.
The stuff I read, it was kind of crazy, right? It was out there. So, of course I'm going to reach out, and that's how it all started. It was, I just reached out to him. I was like, are you doing good? Are you okay? And then he just basically, just...
Oh, he's farther down. It's such a sad situation. He didn't tell me half of it, probably. every one of his kids have blocked him, refused to have any communication with him at all. What is the one common denominator between him and all these relationships? It's him. But to him, it's how screwed up they are and how they aren't just accepting his horrible assessment of them and grateful for the enlightenment and, basically worshiping at his feet. It's insane. He attacks anybody who doesn't agree with him. He decided to become famous by attacking the famous Phoenix Lights case. And I think that was all bullshit. And the reason I think that, and it's just my opinion, is that he only claimed that he was in Prescott and had it fly over him later, after he took on the project of trying to claim it was an air balloon or something. So it's kind of like after the fact. And then he embellished it. The longer he went, the more people that he tried to get in on his. He's fudging the data to make it match. In the end, just because the wind resembled the path that it took, doesn't prove anything.
I mean, you
it's
can't.
Like if you saw an airplane fly over and you could prove that the wind was blowing that direction, you could prove it was carried by the wind. That's nonsense.
Right. Now, so one of the things he told me last night in the conversation was that they're remaking the movie. And do you think that has anything to do with any of this? That he's just trying to get more attention, that he wants to be paid? I mean, what do you think?
It is true that they're going to remake the movie. It's something I told him about. He's claiming that I kept it a secret from him, but that's not true. I tried to talk to him about it. Please meet with me. Please, I got something I got to tell you about. And then finally I just kind of said, hey, they're remaking the movie. And he said, oh, that's a lie. And he just wouldn't hear of it. So it took a lot to get him to finally acknowledge that he thinks in his distorted reasoning that the movie should be a documentary, but it's not, and if there's a remake, it's going to be just like the other one. Well, of course not. That's the purpose of a remake, is to, take a different take on it,
Right. Well, one of the things that Steve and John have both told me, and I'm just trying to relay messages that have been said to me in the past, is how much they love the Paranormal Witness version of the whole story. They said that was one of the most closely resembled stories told of what you guys went through. So, I mean,
that's true.
And
that's a documentary, and you only expect documentaries to be documentaries.
Right, and I watched the Travis. I'm a fan of the story, man. I mean, I'm completely a fan of it. I'm a believer. I'm not a skeptic. I don't, I don't want anybody to say that anything isn't real or anything truth. And that's the, I want you to know that it's not I'm not attacking anything you say or, I love the story. I wouldn't have drove 4 hours to see you personally if I didn't. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, Steve knows how I feel about it. John knows how I feel about it. And, I don't think that those guys will tell you that I would be in the business of trying to make you look bad in any which way, shape, or form. I do.
Well, he's using you as a platform to continue his attack on me. It's very specific. I have in writing his statement, you will pay me $2,000 by Friday at 5 p.m. or I will utterly destroy your reputation. And I want $500 a month until I decide there's been enough. That's what's preposterous to me. If I ever gave in to blackmail, even if he didn't say keep paying until I had enough,
well,
you would know that that's what it would turn into. Matter of fact,
right.
It's a felony.
Right. It's not good.
It's insane. Initially he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the world that you're a womanizer, that you have a yard full of junk, a house full of books, you're a book hoarder. Some of those things are true, but on and on about what a terrible person I am, and a lot of it's just not true.
Right.
Like, for instance, telling Jennifer that he is going to withdraw his permission for use of his illustrations, which are rather minor. She could take them out, replace them with drawings from somebody else real easy.
Right.
But he is furious that it's named Travis. He told me that was egotistical of me. I said, I didn't name it. Every time I have to say the name of that film, I said I would never name something after myself.
And, it's a really good film. It's a really good film, though. You know what I mean? It's a really good film. That film is actually how I started my whole adventure in locating Steve. I went to the hospital and I met with Steve while his wife was very ill, and that's how we met. I happened to be driving through Provo on my way down to Santaquin. I live in Utah. And that's how all this started, was because of some of the testimony that I heard from that movie. So I really do enjoy the flick, and I think it showed all of you in a really good way.
He used to be okay, his egocentric stuff has been a slowly increasing mental derangement. Some of the blocks that his daughters have on him are actually a couple of years old. He's been so obsessed with his power over people, where he finds out what their weakness is, what they're afraid of, and he tries to use that as leverage. In Cher's case, she's married to a wealthy family in Cholo, and he just kept taking money from her, and then he became furious the last time that she gave him less than he asked for. Well, that's actually what happened with Jennifer. He asked Jennifer, well, I think it was like $800, and then she only gave him $300, something like that. And he just blew up at her and started hating her. When actually he had actually kind of got her on his side, because I was so busy, didn't really have much to do with it. But
right.
He's in the classic symptoms of late stage methadone use is paranoia and delusions about people plotting behind their back or keeping secrets from them, that sort of thing. And that's just what he's doing to me. He denies that he's on meth, but his daughter says he is.
Do you mind if I ask you a question about? I mean, you obviously have a relationship. You talk to his kids, and he doesn't.
Right? Yeah, they all call me Uncle Travis and say I love you.
Wow.
They won't speak to him at all.
Wow. And
4 days ago, Heston waited till he was asleep and moved out and left no contact information. So that's why he's in this terrible, terrible dark place right now, as he's lashing out, and he only feels good if he can tear me down. He thinks that if he can reduce me, he went out of his way to call Johnny Cobb up, saying, yesterday, Travis told me he wasn't really abducted by aliens. And so if you make a song, if you go ahead with making a song about Travis, then I will tell the world that you're a fraud.
What?
So he's using blackmail against the songwriter simply because he can't stand the idea. Before that happened with Johnny Cobb, he thought Johnny Cobb was the greatest guy in the world. He was telling me how this was his new friend. He had a great friend in Johnny Cobb. He's a great guy, because Johnny Cobb was going to write the theme music for Mike's radio show.
Right.
Which got canceled. And I think his big push with you is probably to try to get his own show again. He really, really wants that. And when that fell through the last time, he wrote stuff about it that shows you what he was thinking. Well, his viewership was plummeting because, if I had a radio show where I was debating issues and somebody said, that Travis Walton radio show, we call him the logic guy or something like that.
Right.
For them to say it is one thing. To call yourself the realist is so arrogant. It's so ridiculous. It's like saying, I'm the oracle of truth, you know.
And on this platform that we do, you know, I try to give people the ability to speak. You know, when they want to talk, they want to say it. But I can assure you that we're not here to attack you in any which way. And if, you know, things start getting a little bit crazy with him, I can jump to a commercial and get him to calm down a little bit. You know, I don't want him.
Well, if you have him on, it's his opportunity to say Mike is wonderful and Travis is not.
Well,
what Steve told me is that Mike intends to say the incident really happened and Travis is lying about his part of it, which is just insane. But this is a really weird pattern that he developed here with that radio show that Jeremy Scott did. He had a really strange way that he went about it. You know, he said, "Be on this radio show with me." And I said, "Okay." And then he started trying to antagonize me about it. And I just finally said, "Okay, I'll see you on Friday," you know. Right. And once he had me solidly agreeing to it, when we got right up to it, he contacts me and tries to piss me off. So I realized what the real intent was. The whole way he was acting like it's absolutely important. Actually, that's when the blackmail started. If you don't do this radio show, then I'll go tell the world about your dirty heart and all this
Have
stuff.
you paid him money in the past? Have you given these guys money? I mean, are they expecting a regular payment?
I gave him nothing. I knew that if I gave him money, I would be in serious trouble. But
I mean, you know, and I know it's like none of my business, but it's just
blackmail to get me to do the radio show. And then the minute I agree to it, he tries to make me angry. So he can step in at the last minute because nothing else is scheduled for a 100,000-watt show with a blank slot, and he can save the day and fill it with himself. And that's what this whole deal is about, that he's going online and saying the incident happened, but Travis didn't. He actually thinks that he can make it half true. Just his half is true and mine's not.
Right.
This is insane.
And nobody did see you abducted. You know, that nobody. It's not changing anything. It's not. Nobody said they saw you taken. You know, and that's why I'm like, well, why is he saying that now?
Well, that's what he's falling back on. Is that, well, technically, that's why I say it's a kind of a mincing words, dancing all around it. I don't want to really say. And the skeptics come in there and say, "Are you saying that you don't believe him?" He dances all around. But what he's really saying is that he doesn't want anyone to think that Travis had a respectable part in this, and he's a wonderful guy. And his ego his obsession is just so incredible. After we did that radio show, he turns to the host and says, "See? I told you Travis would find a way to steal the limelight."
What?
And I contacted the host ahead of time, told him Mike had this major issue. I said, don't veer away from me. Make sure you ask him plenty of questions. And you know, all through the interview, I built him up, complimented him. And even in spite of that, at one point, he got angry and said, "You're not asking me questions," you know.
Can I ask you a question, Trav? Why do you think that everybody has the bond doesn't seem to be there between anybody in the crew? You know what I mean? Everybody seems to, you know, be their own individual selves. There's, you know, John to me seems to be the most laid back, and he seems to get along with each one of you. But then there's always some kind of resentment against each other. Where do you think that comes from, man?
Well, we weren't a bunch of buddies. We were a group of men that happened to be working together on the same job, you know. And so for that reason, you'd expect a shared experience would create some cohesiveness. But Mike is so selfish that he's not even cohesive with his own family. Nobody wants to have a damn thing to do with him. His sister won't. I mean, his oldest sister.
Right, and he was married. He was married to John's sister.
Hasn't talked to him in 2.5 years. Mike actually wrote and put a thing on Jeremy Charles's website. "I miss you, Charles. I really want you to come. I want to see you again. You know, let's make amends, whatever."
Right.
Mike never apologized for anything, and Charles just put a thumbs up on it. Didn't even reply. I mean, Mike is so brutal with these people. He knows how to hurt them. And, boy, he got real good at that with Charles because every time we'd ride all the way riding to work and all the way home, he was putting Charles down. He just eviscerated him constantly as far as, his self-esteem and everything. This is your older brother telling you that you're nothing,
Wow.
I've lost count of how many people have completely severed connections.
And it's because of
Now,
you think
it's one thing to say, well, that guy's kind of awkward. I'll avoid that. That's uncomfortable in the future. But to just say 0 from here on, that's it. What do you got to do? What do you got to be like to have that happen to you?
Right.
Well, and he's got this furious envy, jealousy of me. It's just burning. It's a frenzy that, he doesn't want to pass up one chance he doesn't even want the remake to happen. And I can quote you right from what he wrote this morning. He says, it would just be another chance to make Travis a fucking hero. That's what he said. The truth of the matter is, Fire in the Sky was a movie that starred Mike Rogers. He was played by Robert Patrick, the main star of the movie, spent most of the time in there, and his character was considerably embellished.
Yeah, very famous guy. Everybody, very famous crew of actors for sure.
Salt of the earth, Mike Rogers, it says right there on Paramount promo. Mike is telling me that I got to Paramount and made them present it in a way that made Mike look bad. I had no control over the script at all.
Right.
So much so that I got a copy of the script finally, and the whole part about the abduction part wasn't even in my copy. That was excluded from my copy.
Right.
And so the fact that Mike was depicted as living as a hermit in the woods was Tracy Torme's idea of romanticizing Mike's image. It wasn't designed to put him down. It certainly wasn't my idea. I thought, well, why put that in there? But,
right.
He's a screenwriter, and he's trying to be creative,
Now, with the original movie, I just want to ask you a question. Why I have an opportunity to, and you don't get a lot of chances to ask Travis questions. So, all the guys in the movie and the crew aren't there. Are they going to all be in this one? Is everybody's names going to be used actually for Steve and John?
Well, one guy, Kenny Peterson was written out of the movie because he didn't want to be in it, and they just created another character with another name. So, if Mike insists, we can do that with him. But he's complaining it's all about money. He's trying to demand money out of Jennifer and me and different people. He went to my printer and threatening him, but all this stuff over supposed copyright infractions, which are not true. Jennifer and I and all these people have signed permissions that he can't withdraw them, and they don't expire. It's just him making claims, claiming that things are secret when it's not secret. He just refuses to hear. When he went to Dana and he held out a copy of this book with two hands and presented it to her like a trophy and said, I don't want anything more to do with this. I want you to have anything I've got coming from this from here on. And but he's all of a sudden developed this hatred and trying to claim that that's this beef is that it's copyright. But no, the real problem is Jennifer named it Travis. Right. If she'd have named it Mike the Great, Mike would be fine with it.
Right. Yeah.
Mike the Wonderful. The song that Johnny Cobb is writing, he's a fantastic musician, infuriates Mike. He's got to stop Johnny from doing this somehow. He was telling me Johnny was the greatest guy. He was his friend and everything. He just couldn't get, this guy is really a super guy. He's my friend. And as soon as he found out that Johnny, when he couldn't steer Johnny away from making a song about me, suddenly Johnny is the enemy.
That's a lot of jealousy. For
sure.
I
keep telling Mike, I said, Mike, let's talk about this. Let's take the wiser course. let me help you. Me, more than anybody on this planet, there's nothing special about me except that I know you and care. Right. Let me help you. And I've said it dozens of times. And he just throws it back in my face.
What does he say when you offer him help? Does he just say, he just pretends like he doesn't hear it?
Well, he says, bullshit, you never helped anybody. You've never given me anything. None of this stuff is true, it's just all fiction,
Wow.
To claim that I was trying to make the movie skewed against him, the Fire and Sky movie, well, for hell's sake, he's the star of the movie. I didn't have any say over that stuff. Oh, and he spoke to the screenwriter himself at great length. If he wanted to tell terrible things about his sister, he could have done it. He could have said that to them. But he's acting like I was some kind of a terrible person because they romanticized our relationship. Hell, we were married and having kids.
Right.
And so, Mike is there's no level that he won't stoop to. And his own sister went on his page, Cher. She unblocked him, went on there and said, I can't believe you would stoop to this attack on Travis. Even for you, that you would stoop that low.
Wow. This is just this recent situation?
Back again. So she was motivated enough to confront him with that.
And that's this recent situation?
This is really sickening that he's trying to drag her down like that. Just because he sent her a bunch of stuff and she didn't reply. She didn't want to get in the middle of all this,
Right.
She was basically saying, if you try to make this movie not happen, I won't speak to you again. Of course, she sees it as a good thing for all the families. But Mike says that'd be the worst thing possible that could happen, is they would make you look like a fucking hero. And that's totally ridiculous.
Right.
Mike was the hero in that movie. And believe me, he was glamorized to a great extent. Robert Patrick's better looking than him, but, that's okay. Actors are better than the people they play.
Right. But it was still, I remember the scene where he goes and talks to the town, and it made that character look very, worried and caring of his crew. I remember very well. I've watched this movie, timeless. I can't tell you how many times over. I'm 50 years old, so when it came out, I've watched it a bunch since it came out. So,
salt of the earth, Mike Rogers,
yeah.
Crew boss and family man, just building him up, and it's not good enough for him because what happened to me intrigues the public, and he can't stand that. Well, I'm not like him. I'm not a glory hunter or a publicity seeker. If I go out of town, I get recognized. So I try to go out when the traffic is low, when the store is almost empty,
Right. And you still live in the area, right?
Not looking for the limelight, as he calls it, that he craves so much.
So, everybody there knows you when they do see you, of course.
Mike is not the salt of the earth. Some of his coworkers, some of the other contractors out there have stories to tell. Dana's best friend, Laurie Crandall, her dad and two of her brothers were contractors that had worked with Mike. And Mike had a bad habit of being to deal with when it came to always trying to fudge. There's some paid. And I can't, he's been sued. He's not a guy. And then here he is pointing the finger at me and telling me, Travis is a liar, always been a liar. But why are all these people in town saying good things about me? To me, it doesn't matter except that it infuriates Mike. Why do his kids call me Uncle Travis and say I love you? And they won't even let him talk to them for years. What is wrong with this picture? Now, of course, that contributes to his hatred of me. But just some brief compliments from a couple of his wives might have contributed to it. But it's nothing I did. I didn't I didn't instigate any of that. I very properly handled it in the way that you'd have to.
Well, Trav, I can tell you that as far as I know, there's three of us that do the show, and all of the hosts are believers in the story, and nobody is here to ragdoll and beat you up.
Well, his goal is to try to divide the story in part and make him the wonderful hero that was in Fire in the Sky and the complete, honest, salt of the earth guy, and then Travis is the giant bullshitter. And where did he get that? I didn't tell him that.
Well, I don't know if you're aware.
Sure, he can say nobody saw that. I can't prove it other than the 5 lie detector tests I took. There's nobody so evil that you can't say anything good about them whatsoever,
Right.
There's something wrong with this picture, people think.
Tonight is Mike's show. Mike is coming on tonight. Thursday is Steve and John.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if he gets nasty, I hope you have a 7-second delay.
I do.
Because I'm holding you responsible to know that he wants to say the worst possible about me, and there's no holds barred.
Right.
He will lie about anything. His own daughters told me day before yesterday, Cher said, he's a psychopath. All right. He's mistaking the people's fascination with a car wreck. He's somehow winning them over or something. His whole claim to fame is a connection to the incident that he's trying to destroy just because he thinks it makes me somebody that's well known.
All right.
That's just bizarre. Steve used to come out and speak with me, and he actually confessed sort of that he didn't like, having people rush right by him to talk to me, but I was always somebody who tried to direct as much of the attention and questions to him, just because I didn't want it all. I wanted, I was trying to be fair.
It's a lot to process. I'm sure even 45 years later, there's a lot of things that are hard for you to deal with.
Yeah. Well, after that show with Jeremy Scott, Mike's comment online was, well, there goes my radio show. So I don't know what it was that he was disappointed about or what he thought should happen. I think if he'd have got me to back out on it, he could have somehow proposed to be the host. He wants to have a show again because he loves the attention. He wants to have his own radio show. He makes no secret of that.
It isn't cheap. So.
Well, that was what Jennifer was doing. That's what the money was for.
Right.
He asked for from hundreds of dollars, and she didn't give him enough, and then he became furious at her and blew up at her. Like it was her responsibility to make sure he got a radio show. And she was just giving him the money. It wasn't a loan or anything of the nature, Whatever deal they made for the use of his paintings was a separate thing. But now all of a sudden he's trying to claim, even though he was paid money from her, now he's saying she doesn't have the right to use them, which is, oh, come on, man. That's Indian giver, or whatever you call it.
Right.
I don't, my understanding of copyright is that you can't decide later that you want to take it back. Well, I think another thing is that, he's shown in 100 ways, all kinds of emails and communications back and forth. She can document his total acceptance of the deal they had until he suddenly became obsessed with the idea that something existed with Travis's name on it,
Right. Well, sir, I appreciate the call. I do appreciate talking to you. I think, like I said, we've talked before. I've met with you in person before, and, I enjoy.
Well, you sound like you'll be fair, and I believe that if he does get carried away with telling the world that I strangled kittens for the pleasure of it or something, believe me, I put nothing past him.
Yeah.
Okay, but does Mike know that John and Steve, I think they would, because they would tell him probably. Right. Steve told me that Mike was trying to blackmail him too.
You see, and that I'm not aware of that stuff.
Well, he came to me saying that, and I didn't bring it up. His daughter says he lies about everything, lie, and yet that's what his favorite insult is call me a liar. I mean, Steve's big beef with Mike was that he told the screenwriter that they drew straws to see who took the test first. And Steve is saying that didn't happen. That was just Mike got creative and said that out of the clear blue. And so because Steve was so angry about that and the fact that Mike revealed that he was one of the ones that was crying, I think that's stupid. There's no shame in that. All of us cried at some point. I tried to tell Steve there's no shame in that, but he wanted to kick Mike's ass over that. And, I've got that in writing. So Mike's blackmail was basically, I'll get you arrested if you enter the state of Arizona. He found out some kind of trouble that Steve had been in, and so he's I think that's what Steve means by blackmailing him.
Right. I don't know.
I'm surprised that Mike will be able to handle an interview. He can't pretend to be normal. People see right through it.
We will see.
But,
we will see.
One thing you'll notice is that every few words he laughs. And he pretends that it's just that I feel so good. I'm so happy all the time. No, that's actually a symptom of a certain kind of neurological damage. But maybe it's just because he's so damn high he can't quit laughing. I don't know.
Right. Well, sir, tonight I'll do my best to keep him under control and let him tell his story. And
I think the reason he keeps emphasizing, I don't do drugs all the time, is because everybody thinks to the contrary. All these people in his apartment that were living there off and on over the years, he's pointing to them and say, I kicked them out because they're druggies, And, well, when you got that much of a concentration of drug use, I guess he thinks it's important that he establish himself as the opposite of all that. That his daughter says no, he's back on it. So apparently she knows that he dried out for a while, but this is late stage meth paranoia delusions. Yeah, his brain is breaking down. Just, it's bad enough. But the preposterous claims. He was claiming he had a $1.2 million advance going for his book. And so I kind of mentioned that a couple of times. I didn't express skepticism, but he came back with, well, I contacted my New York publisher and I told him I'm not going to sign that contract, that there's going to be no book, just forget it. As if it never happened. He just, there is no contract with them. So there never was, and that was just a lie that he was trying to cover up, $1.2 million. Come on, if that was Stephen King, would he get a $1.2 million advance that wasn't even written yet? When Bernadette and him were out there on one of the last sign jobs, the digging bar was leaning up against the ladder, and he said he bent over and it fell and hit him in the head and cracked his skull. And the first time he told me this story, I thought he was joking. He said that it opened up a hole in his head and his brains are coming out. And the reason his hair is wet all the time is because of spinal fluid or brain fluid. And I thought, you got to be kidding, He told the story several times, and he means it. He's serious. Just preposterous stories like that, like claiming that he went to college when I did. He was going to university and kept it a secret. Well, I happen to know what his work schedule was back in those days. I even let him stay in my dorm room once because saved him a hotel bill. But
right.
I was my work study job was delivering mail all over campus. So I never ran into him any time in the whole time. But he's trying to pretend he had a whole course load, and then he changed it. He embellished that a little bit later to say that he had a degree, Dr. Mike. It's just how far out there can you get? I guess it depends on the drug supply, whether it's high or low. Or
right. Well, Trav, I'm gonna get to going here tonight. It's at 8:00 your time. I'm sure you're gonna hear about it if there's stuff going on like this that he's gonna say. I have no idea what he's gonna say.
Is there any way I can tune into it?
Yeah, I will send you a link. I'll text it to this number if it's okay. This way you just click on it and it should be live.
Yeah, that would be good. All
at
right.
8:00 your time. You just click on the link and it should start playing for you automatically.
Fantastic.
All right, sir. You have a good night. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right,
and
man.
you have a good interview.
All right, I'm going to try. All right, thank you, sir.
Well, I'm sure you're good. You're going to be walking a tightrope, but have a good one.
You too, sir.
All
All right, take care, Trav. Travis Walton. Throwing dirt. Well, you've heard it, and I'm sitting here, and I just, as I'm listening to it, and I'm just like going, what the hell was going on with that, man? You listen, and there's no mention of anything that happened truthfully, or it's all about just a straight attack and the drug use. What is going on with the drug? He made 3 or 4 different references to Rogers being twacked out. This is the story. I should put a disclaimer on this. Hey, if you really like this movie and this story, don't listen to this shit. Don't listen to what this shit is, because it just goes to show how much Hollywood polished this shit up, right? This is 45 years, these guys going at it. Somebody's always in it with somebody. And it was weird because after the Rogers interview, when we had all 3 of them on together, it was just like everything fell apart. Like I thought I was friends with individuals in this crew, and it was all false. It was all bullshit. I wasn't friends with anybody. I thought I was, but on their side of it, I was just a piece of shit to step on so they could come out and talk and entertain their groupies. Honestly, I had a huge fight with John. It was intense. Telling each other we're going to punch each other's face. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. We're doing a convention together in Iowa, and I tell you what, this is going to sell some tickets. You're going to have the 3 guys from Fire in the Sky, and the podcaster dude that played the phone call. It could be awesome. Come there, man. Tables and shit might get knocked over. This could be fun. You can't make this stuff up. When you look at all of this and you really step back and you just go, this has gone on for 45 years. Wow. It's crazy. I would just divorce it all. I think Kenny might be the smartest one of the bunch, trying to avoid all this stuff and just say, I'm done with it. Because I think I am too. We're supposed to have Steve on Friday. I don't know if he's going to come on. I truly don't. I have no idea. If not, it is what it is. I hope he does. I like Steve. I thought we were friends. I don't know where we are. I don't know where I am with any of these people. I don't know if I worry about it anymore either, to be honest with you. I just don't care. There's other stories to talk about and other things to do. And if people want to hold things against me, then, so be it. Good luck to you. We will talk to you next Friday, one way or another, whether the guest is Steve or not. I hope it is, but we'll see what happens, man. We will see what happens in the ever-changing world of meth. Fire in the meth. They should change. The new movie should be called Fire in the Bowl. Holy smokes.
Thanks for tuning in to 51 Areas Talk Radio. See you next week.